Gardeners have been told for decades that compost is the holy grail of soil health. You pile up kitchen scraps, grass clippings and leaves, turn it every few weeks, and wait months for it to transform into black, crumbly humus. But the truth is, while composting works, it is not always the fastest or most efficient way to feed soil. Many of us want results in weeks, not in half a year. That's where a simple but overlooked technique comes in. One that delivers nutrients directly to your soil and plants faster than a traditional compost pile ever could. It's not a replacement for compost entirely, but for those who want quicker soil revival, this method can change everything. A compost pile is essentially a miniature ecosystem that slowly breaks organic matter down into stable humus. While the end product is fantastic, the process is slow, requires attention, and doesn't always fit the needs of gardeners who want immediate improvement in their soil. Clay soil, sandy beds, or worn-out garden patches don't have the luxury of waiting 6 months to become fertile again. If you're dealing with compacted, nutrient-poor ground, you need a method that works in place, breaking down material right where your plants are growing. This is where soil-feeding shortcuts outperform compost piles. Trench composting delivers nutrients directly to the root zone. Instead of waiting for a pile to mature, trench composting involves burying raw organic matter right into your garden soil. The process is simple. Dig a trench or hole about 8 to 12 inches deep. Add your food scraps, garden waste, or even shredded paper, then cover it back up with soil. Unlike a compost pile that breaks down separately and later gets added to the garden, trench composting happens in place. Soil organisms like worms, beetles, and bacteria go to work immediately, breaking down the material directly where roots can benefit. Within a few weeks, you'll notice the soil is looser, darker, and holds moisture better. This method is especially effective if you rotate the trenches season by season. One year you bury scraps along one row, the next year you shift to another, slowly transforming the entire garden bed without ever turning a pile. Another trick that outpaces compost is using fermented plant teas. These are made by soaking weeds, comfrey, nettles, or even kitchen scraps in water for 2 to 3 weeks. The liquid becomes a nutrient-dense concentrate loaded with minerals and microbial activity. Instead of waiting for compost to stabilize, you dilute this tea at a ratio of about 1 part tea to 10 parts water and pour it directly onto the soil around plants. This method bypasses the slow breakdown of a pile and delivers soluble nutrients your plants can use almost instantly. For example, fermenting comfrey leaves creates a tea rich in potassium, perfect for flowering and fruiting crops. Nettles produce nitrogen-rich brews that boost leafy greens. The key here is speed. Within days of applying, plants perk up, soil life accelerates, and overall fertility improves. While burying or fermenting scraps accelerates breakdown, simply layering organic matter on the soil surface is another method that works faster than compost piles in certain conditions. This is essentially sheet mulching, where you lay grass clippings, shredded leaves, straw, or cardboard directly on top of the soil. Earthworms pull the material down naturally, and surface microbes start digesting it within days. Unlike a pile that sits isolated, this approach keeps soil shaded, moist, and continuously fed. A thin layer about 2 inches thick of green material like clippings, balanced with 2 inches of brown material like leaves, begins to break down almost immediately. Over time, the soil below turns darker and softer, with worm tunnels aerating the root zone. The real difference comes down to contact. In a pile, the breakdown happens away from your plants, then later gets spread back into the soil. With trenching, teas or mulching, the material is in direct contact with soil biology from day one. Worms don't need to wait for a finished pile. They go straight to work, dragging in nutrients. Microbes multiply faster when they have immediate access to both carbon and nitrogen in the ground. Plants, in turn, pick up the results sooner. So, here's how you can apply this in your garden. Start by setting aside some of the scraps you'd normally add to your compost pile. Instead of dumping them all in one spot, rotate methods. 1 week, dig a trench a foot deep between 2 rows of crops, add a bucket of scraps and cover it. The next week, brew a bucket of fermented tea from comfrey or nettles and apply it as a liquid fertilizer. For the areas you're not actively planting, cover them with a 2 to 4 inch mulch layer of grass, straw and cardboard. Within 1 season, you'll see the soil becoming richer without ever having to turn or wait on a pile. As a practical example, say you're planting tomatoes. Dig a hole 2 feet deep, drop in 2 or 3 banana peels, some crushed eggshells, and a few handfuls of green weeds. Cover with soil, plant your tomato on top, and water with diluted plant tea every 2 weeks. The roots grow directly into the nutrient breakdown zone, and your plants thrive without bagged fertilizer or waiting on compost. Here's the takeaway for soil-first gardeners. Compost piles have their place, but they aren't the only solution. For gardeners who want results quickly, feeding the soil directly through trenches, tees and mulching is a faster path to black living soil. It's less about the ritual of turning piles and more about giving soil life what it craves where it matters most, in the ground itself. So if your compost bin has been testing your patience, try these methods instead. They'll give you fertile soil in weeks, not months, and keep your garden thriving without the back-breaking work of constant pile management. And if this guide helped you rethink how you feed your soil, make sure to subscribe to Hydrohaven for more practical, no-nonsense gardening strategies. Share this with fellow gardeners who are still stuck turning piles, and let's spread the word on faster, smarter soil building.